call this regular session of the Wetzel County Schools Board meeting to order. We'll begin with the opening of the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mrs. Nice, followed by a moment of silence. Anyone not wishing to participate may stay seated.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Okay, first thing on the agenda, next thing on the agenda is an opening statement. I need to bring up about when people are speaking and we are in meetings that no one should be talking. I got a lot of concerns from people after the last meeting stating that they couldn't hear because people around them were talking, and it was distracting to people trying to listen, especially since it was the business work session. So we please ask that during the entire meeting, whether it's delegations, presenters for the video, that we show respect and not talk while we're in the meeting. If you have to talk to somebody about something, please feel free to walk out and then come back in. Or, you could always text each other or write a message on a back of paper, but no talking during the meeting, please. Now, that doesn't mean you can't talk when it's your turn to talk. I'm just saying when we're listeners. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, the first thing we're going to have is a presentation. The 2024 Wetzel County Innovation Showcase winners, Grace Green and Shandy Lively from Payne City High School.
Hello, my name is Grace Green, and I'm Shandy Lively, and we are sophomores at Payne City High School. As teenagers directly immersed in the public school environment, we actively watch bullying take place every day, and as a result, we witness and experience the awful repercussions that occur.
We are educated about bullying and instructed on protocols and prevention within schools. However, it is distant and forced. Although knowledge and awareness regarding bullying put forth by schools is contributive, it is extremely insensitive to those who are actually victims of bullying.
You never actually realize how significant of an impact bullying imprints on a person and how intense the feelings that accompany the consequences of being bullied really are.
So with that, we have Create Conversation. Create Conversation is a social and emotional learning system with insight directly from kids for kids.
Create Conversation is a platform that fosters a supportive environment for adolescents, addresses social and emotional learning topics from an engaging and inclusive standpoint, gathers insight from students' well-being, and exercises critical skills such as leadership, communication, teamwork, and responsibility, while also building self-confidence and instilling motivation.
The Oxford Dictionary defines innovation as the introduction of new things, ideas, or ways of doing something. A common misconception with innovation is the belief that innovation is only achieved through the creation of a physical object, a tangible invention.
In actuality, innovation is all around us. Last week, we competed in a competition called the Innovation Showcase, which utilized innovation to create it and give us the opportunity to speak.
Social and emotional learning is not a new concept. The CASEL, Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, was founded in 1994. Over time, controversies have formed surrounding this learning style.
It is said that social and emotional learning focuses too much on a child's identity. In that time, social and emotional learning has been lost within the educational systems.
We are here today to stress to you from a student's perspective that social and emotional learning is not a want, it is a necessity. What makes Create Conversation, our social and emotional learning system, different from others is it is student-driven. It's created by kids for kids. This focus pulls students in which earns their engagement and attentiveness.
School can be an intense place, especially high school. It's draining and hard. Unfortunately, that's reality. You go to school and perform the same forced and distant pattern every day.
Create Conversation is exactly what us students need right now. We understand ourselves and know what we need best. It is essential because we are the future. So come together as a community, be the change, and create the conversation. So here in the middle of our board, we kind of have the structure of our social and emotional learning system, Create Conversation.
So the 5 core social and emotional learning competencies are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. These will be implemented and emphasized in our app. And yeah.
So here's where it becomes really engaging in the community. We have the district implementation. So it kind of starts with a pyramid of our district leaders, which goes down into the principal. From there we have teacher advisors that watch over our student ambassadors that are within schools implementing these policies. And from there it becomes extremely engaging into the student community from the student body.
So, the conversation. Why incorporate an online platform? Social media, text message, anything and everything digital is how the youth communicate nowadays. How it will be monitored. Heavy restrictions built in will screen out aggressive conversation and individual names from being shared. And conversation is also accessed by advisors and administrators who will monitor the feelings and well-being of other students.
So as with this platform, lots of sensitive topics are discussed. There will be training requirements mandated for our student ambassadors and our teacher advisors. We have FERPA, mandated reporting, HIPAA, and sensitivity training. So this kind of plays into also what Shandy just talked about, how the app is monitored. So we're in partnership, and we've talked a lot with some advisors from Marshall. We have a patent in the process, but to really create the app, they kind of helped lead us on this journey, and they stressed how important it is to actually have a blocked out storyboard version before you actually create the app, because that's what you do when you take it to an app manufacturer. You have to have it blocked out, and your idea is really, really blocked off, basically. So we created it in a PowerPoint version. So this is kind of just a prototype, an idea of what it could look like. So here we have the main menu. Okay. So when you start to the app, here's your main menu. And since this is really engaging for student lifestyle, we start off with the daily challenge. Well, okay, so here's a sample lesson of how you are also really learning throughout this as well. So here's an example of exploring conflict. So students can get on every morning and read through the lesson, and by completing the lesson, they will obtain some points. So we have a checklist. This just shows the positive use and the negative use. So it takes some time for students to self-reflect. What am I doing? Is it positive? Is it negative? And then here's another time where it becomes really, really engaging. It gives the student a chance to read through and actually type a personal answer to the question.
And those challenges will be done during homeroom time, whenever you have free time. And we will also have an app on your phone, so you could get onto that if you need help anytime. So next is the conversation. So this is just an example of what the conversation may look like between the student ambassador and somebody that just needs somebody to talk to, like a friend.
And this can also be, the conversation can also be, in addition to a platform for someone to talk about some sensitive and tough subjects, it can also be a place for advisors to reach out, or other student ambassadors to reach out to students, because this is a very involved group. So not only is it technology invention, but it's also a movement to kind of shift the culture. So this will be a very involved group to talk about events and such. So here we have the supportive resources. This differs a little bit from the conversation. So you go to the supportive resources if you need some direct help. This gives you a direct line to your school support system. So your school counselors, your social workers, and your principal. And it also provides some extra help like 988 and 844 if those are the subjects you discussed.
Next is the Create Conversation calendar. And on here you will have a list of all the meetings, and the school can also get involved on wearing the Create Conversation colors to school, so anyone can get involved in this, and it's very inclusive.
So from there, it goes a little bit back to the daily challenge. This is the points that you can obtain from doing the challenges. So it will show you the screen where you can see how many points you've obtained from completing the challenges. And from there you can get some prizes. So we actually interviewed some students from our school. We were like, what do you guys want? What would get you involved and excited and actually want to participate? So these were just some of their ideas.
And at the end of every 9 weeks, you will be able to go to these and get your prizes. You can get anything from free time to a pizza party to merchandise and gift cards.
Well, that's the end of it. So, yeah, our plan is to take this to the Spark West Virginia Invention Contest next year. Yeah, we are very passionate about this. It stems from some personal issues we've had actually within the school this year, such as bullying. And, you know, counselors and principals, they're busy. It's a revolving door, I can tell you that. So this is a great place for, because sometimes students, when they're talking about these sensitive subjects, they don't always want to talk face to face. So this gives a great place for inclusiveness and a safe spot for students to address and discuss tough subjects. So, yes, thank you all for having us.
Thank you guys.
Wow. Don't walk away yet. I'm just so impressed. I mean, extremely impressed. It's so needed. I'm going to talk about some of the things you said later on in the meeting, and it's just like, you're still in school and you've got such insight. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. And this, our plan is for this not to stop here. We're going to keep working to make this an actual reality. So, yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have a comment they want to make?
So you're at planning stage, right? So now you gotta,
Yes.
Yep.
now you gotta take this idea, find some coders.
Yep. And we're already working with Marshall. They're doing a great, and the adventure group. The adventure group and Marshall, they're doing a great job at giving us some guidance.
And we're only sophomores, so we
Oh,
have
yeah,
we
yeah.
have
Yeah.
some time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very wise.
Every great idea has a
Sophomores.
seed, right? Every great idea starts somewhere.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then you progress, absolutely.
Right, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful. Yes, they did. Okay, our next thing is delegations. The first one is Scott Lemley. You have 5 minutes to speak, and you're to speak to the group here. It's up to you, wherever you would like to. Anything you say is your responsibility. It's not the responsibility of the board.
Thank you to the Wetzel County Board of Education members and Superintendent Porter Berner for the opportunity to address the board meeting this evening. I am here as a citizen of Hundred, West Virginia, a former mayor of Hundred, and a graduate of Hundred High School. In fact, I graduated from Hundred High School this year 25 years ago. It's hard to believe. I am concerned about the posting number 2024-137 relating to the head principal technology education coordinator. I'm of the opinion we need a head principal and a separate technology education coordinator or teacher at Hundred High School. However, I believe these positions need to be posted separately and should not be the same person. Curriculum and instruction decisions have far-reaching consequences for students and teachers in K-12 education or in K-12 schools. The decisions we now make now regarding curriculum and instruction in our schools will determine the way our county, state, and country will look because of the way we mold our future adults. I am concerned we are leaving a sector of students behind in our educational system. With the current funding, our school system, and low student enrollment, Wetzel County Schools is in a unique position to provide students a higher quality of education per student. Our school system helps to develop our societal norms within our communities. Based on recent trends regarding higher education, it has become very expensive and many students cannot afford to attend colleges, universities, and/or community colleges. Our secondary schools or our high schools may very well be preparing many of our students to enter the workforce or go into the military. Without a post-graduation plan and guidance from educators, some students may become lost in the shuffle and lost in life. Every student needs to know they have value in our society. We have many opportunities in Wetzel County to bring vocational and technical education into our schools. We need carpenters, welders, electricians, plumbers, contractors, and the list could go on and on. Just recently, I found out there's a shortage of court reporters and stenographers in our area. We are able to market not only Hunter High School, but other schools in our county. We need to work with our West Virginia Board of Education, the West Virginia legislator, and the governor to show we have some new and innovative ways of connecting public education in Wetzel County to the demands of local businesses, industries, or manufacturing facilities. This may require some changes in the law. However, if we know the elements of supply and demand are changing regarding the future needs of our society, then we will need to adapt to those changes in our educational curriculum. It is my perception that we lost value during the 1990s in vocational and technical education, and we need this back in our public school system. We can create value. We can enhance the level of importance our students have to our communities by showing there is a need for them in our local communities. As a former member of the Wetzel County Board of Education, I understand the challenges and difficult decisions the superintendent has to recommend to the board members, and whether or not to approve those recommendations submitted by the superintendent. I think there's a lot of anxieties in Wetzel County regarding the future existence of our community high schools. Until these decisions are made regarding our high schools, I ask the superintendent and the members of the Wetzel County Board of Education to help enhance the quality of education our students are receiving by maintaining some continuity in our schools until the decisions are made regarding our area high schools. I strongly encourage the Wetzel County Superintendent and the Wetzel County Board of Education to have a head principal and a technology education coordinator at Hunter High School. A technology education coordinator is far too important to our students' future to be bogged down in administrative matters required of a principal, and vice versa. A principal does not have the time and flexibility to also serve in the critical role of technology education coordinator. We have opportunities to make Hunter High School attractive to our current and future students by creating a curriculum that will enhance their ability to give back to our communities. I urge the Board of Education to reconsider its position on this issue. I appreciate the time and consideration the Wetzel County Superintendent and the Wetzel County Board of Education has given me. I leave the members and the administration this evening with a final thought, and it is a Bible verse in Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Thank you. Sorry, I went over my time.
It's okay.
And I have copies of my comments if the board members would want them.
Yes, please. Our next delegation is Rodney McWilliams. And Rodney, you heard me say the rules already, so you know, right? Okay, thank you.
As usual, I want to thank the board for allowing us time to speak. This is a follow-up to a concern I voiced a couple of meetings ago when the State Department of Education sent a letter, a request for some answers to some theoretical questions concerning the EPA super site fund designation in Payton City and how that affects Payton City High School. My first concern was why the State Board of Education waited until this year to become involved, or how they became involved. To what extent have they been communicated over this whole process? I contacted the EPA directly. and they answered me on the telephone, that I asked for something in writing, so they emailed me this document. It seems that the EPA does not have any contact with the State Department of Education in West Virginia, or what they call the State Board of Education. Their only contact has been at the local level with the Wetzel County School District, and they named 2 names of employees here in Wetzel County that they're the only people they've had contact with during this whole process. So a assumption could be made that Wetzel County has informed Charleston of this situation for some reason yet to be determined. But the EPA is not contacting the State Department of Education. However, the good news is, and this is what I want to stress, is that when there is communication between this county and Charleston, the entire story needs to be told. Because there has been several rounds of testing performed in Payne City High School since 2020. The first of which was done in November 2020, and the vapor intrusion results came back favorably. I'm going to have to summarize this because it is very wordy. But this EPA did contact then Principal Mr. J. Salva in February 2021. The analytical results of the indoor air samples collected in the property were compared to EPA regional screening levels. The detected concentrations did not exceed applicable EPA screening standards. EPA stated in this letter that based on the results, we do not plan to conduct additional vapor intrusion testing sampling. Then in March of 22, the site was named to the national priorities list. There were some comments and concerns made in regards to Payne City and Payne City High School. So then on, let me get the dates. The school was retested in February of 2023. EPA sent analytical results letters to 2 people here in Wetzel County at the board office. On October 31st of 2023, EPA then recommended multiple times that the results of this letter be communicated with the parents of the students at Payne City High School, and the EPA offered any assistance they needed that would be needed in that realm. They presented all these findings at a town meeting, at a public meeting in November of 2023, and at that point, the results of that round of testing were consistent with those done in 2020, that the PCE detected in indoor air and sub-slab samples, the levels did not exceed vapor intrusion screening levels. Based on the results, VOCs from the former bandbox cleaners do not appear to indicate a vapor intrusion concern at Payne City High School. EPA performed additional VI investigations in February 2024, which is this year, at various locations around Payne City, and decided to retest the high school at that time for the sake of consistency. The additional sampling was based on groundwater plume delineation data. The EPA has preliminary results from these samples, and they have requested validated results to be expedited. And they hope to have the final results very soon. However, the preliminary results from the 2024 sampling appear to be consistent with those results of 2020 and 2023. So to reiterate, based on multiple rounds of sampling, these are the words of the EPA, based on multiple rounds of sampling, results indicate that vapor intrusion due to the bandbox dry cleaner Superfund site do not present a concern for Payne City High School. And I want that information to be shared with Charleston, as the other information was shared with Charleston. They need to know the full story. And this will be sent to Charleston.
Thank you. The next delegation is Karen Longwell. Mrs. Longwell, you understand the rules also, right?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me be able to speak this evening. I myself have already sent an email to each of the board members with my feeling on the issue I'm going to be talking about. This is from someone else that I'm reading. Tonight I will be addressing the board regarding the lack of transparency with recent actions taken by the county office. I am deeply concerned about the manner in which the principal's job was posted. The community of 100 would like to know why this job was only posted on the school board's website and not advertised on the statewide website. I can't wrap my head around the thought that went into the decision to post a principal's job in county only, and then post substitute teachers' jobs statewide. Everyone knows that it's highly unlikely that substitutes will travel long distances or move to Wetzel County to substitute teach. It is much more likely that professionals will move to Wetzel County to accept a principal's position. The community would be appreciative of answers to the following questions. Why was the principal/technical education teacher job posted in county only? How do you propose that the principal will provide leadership, direction, discipline, and all of their duties on just a part-time basis? There are financial responsibilities, there are legal responsibilities that they have to also be responsible for. Who will cover the classroom when this part-time principal is pulled out of class due to an emergency, due to discipline problems, parents arriving at the school unannounced, during class time, meetings, training? Those are our questions. I myself did research through contacting people within the state. They're trying to find another high school, even with a small enrollment like Hunter High School will have, that has a part-time principal. I could not find anyone. I had so far been in conversation with 2 people at the State Department. They do not know of a school, a high school that has a part-time principal. They couldn't give me any guidance to say what it would be a good job description. How would you write it? I mean, because there's too much for both to do. We would deeply appreciate reconsideration of this part-time principal job post and answer to any of our questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our last delegation is Carol Roberts.
Thank you. I'm reading a letter, from Sean Snedden. These aren't my words, but I agree totally with what he's saying. Board members, superintendent, and directors, today I want to address the challenges associated with combining a principal position with a teaching role. While it may seem like a practical solution to maximize resources and leadership presence in schools, this practice comes with its own set of hurdles. First and foremost, let's consider the demanding nature of both roles. Teaching requires dedication, planning, and engagement with students day in and day out. It's a profession that demands full attention and energy to ensure students receive the best education possible. On the other hand, being a principal is a highly administrative role involving tasks such as managing staff, handling budgets, and setting the overall vision and the direction for the school. Combining these roles means spreading oneself thin, potentially compromising effectiveness in both areas. This creates the issue of divided focus. Teachers need to be fully present for their students, providing them with the support and guidance they need to succeed. However, if a teacher is also serving as a principal, their attention may be pulled away from their students as they deal with the demands of the principal role. This includes managing staff, handling budgets, setting the school's vision, and dealing with students' concerns, such as IEPs, discipline, and positive behavior programs. This divided focus can impact the quality of teaching and the overall learning experience for students. Both teaching and school leadership demand undivided attention and energy. Juggling these roles simultaneously can stretch educators thin, impacting their effectiveness in both capacities. Moreover, the combination of a principal's position with a teaching role can exacerbate the role ambiguity, hindering educators' ability to navigate their responsibilities effectively. Uncertainty about which hat to wear, teacher or administrator, can lead to confusion, inefficiencies, and communication breakdowns within the school community. Furthermore, the demanding nature of dual roles often leaves little time for education to engage in essential professional development opportunities. Without access to ongoing training and support, educators may struggle to stay current with best practices, impacting their effectiveness in both teaching and leadership capacities. Additionally, students may perceive educators who hold dual roles differently, potentially viewing them as less accessible or less invested in their individual needs. This perception constrains student-teacher relationships and trust, ultimately affecting student engagement and academic success. In conclusion, while the idea of combining a principal's position with a teaching role may seem like a practical solution, it brings with it a host of challenges, from managing student discipline and maintaining impartiality to practicality, community involvement, stress, time management, and the demanding nature of both positions. The hurdles are significant. Schools must carefully evaluate the implication of such arrangements and consider alternative solutions to ensure the success of their students and the well-being of their educators. Thank you. I think this is very well written and touched everything.
Okay, then we're down to number 5, superintendent's information.
No report.
No report? Okay. All right, then let's look down next at approval of minutes from the regular meeting on April 23rd, 2024, and the special meeting on April 30th, 2024. Do I have a motion for approval of minutes?
I move we approve the minutes.
It's moved by Mrs. Nice, second.
I'll say.
Second by Mr. Price. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, under personnel matters, we have resignations, professional personnel, service personnel. There we go. And extracurricular. Do I have a motion for approval of the superintendent's recommendations as outlined under personnel matters?
So moved.
It's moved by Mr. Price. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Glasscock. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Under routine matters, A, release from Wetzel County Schools. I can tell you that this is one person and it's just a continuation of somebody that's been doing it. Out-of-state trips, request for proposal agreement, student accident insurance plan, chaperones and volunteers, and the walkie-talkies. Is there a motion for approval?
This is like, all these have been vetted too, right?
All the people have been vetted that are up for
Yes,
volunteers?
yes.
Okay,
Just making sure.
okay.
The walkie-talkies, are those, is every staff member gonna get them, or
Yes.
Mr. Barkus?
Oh, yes, go ahead. I'm gonna get this to while you
Okay.
talk, okay?
The overwhelming majority of staff members will receive one, yes. I spoke to all the principals and got the numbers that they are requesting for their buildings.
Okay.
That's-
I thought you were done, I'm sorry.
That's part of the school safety
Yes.
initiative and all, and the guy that comes around and,
Correct.
okay.
I've had people question why don't we just use cell phones? And the reason for walkie-talkies is because, I mean, if cell service is out, these will still work. For
Yes.
safety reasons, that's where I assumed it probably
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
but,
We had that
Yeah, for
exact
sure.
problem today. We didn't have any cell service out in the county.
okay. All right. That's a good example right there.
Well, and when you hear walkie-talkie, you think I ran down to Walmart and bought Fisher-Price
Yeah.
plastic. And these are two-way radios.
Yes.
And if you sat in our training back in Charleston, was that February or March? My brain's February, late February, that we sat, board was required to sit through a safety and security session. And in that session, what it impacted me in that conversation from the professionals that were there to advise us was, when it comes to school safety and the issues that we don't like to talk about but are real, seconds matter. Not minutes, not seconds. And if these on their hip allow for instantaneous communication within a school system to let those people know what's going on and what needs to happen immediately. Don't know whether I can get to the office and get to an intercom system. Don't know whether I can get on a cell phone and make a call. But these are instantaneous. And if I learned anything, seconds matter. When I sat in that training, and I don't even want to think about needing them. But if we do, and we save some lives, that dollar figure won't mean anything to us.
Our student safety and faculty safety has to be first. It has to be. I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation as outlined under routine matters.
I second.
Is there any further discussion?
The service personnel and everyone will be getting these, correct?
It's a mixture of professional and service personnel. Again, it's not every single employee in the county, but it's the overwhelming majority. So it's the numbers the principals requested. It's almost 400 walkie-talkies.
Depends what their role is in the building.
Okay.
It's like the team and all that.
But if anytime we see any additional ones that's needed, will we purchase those?
We can consider that in the future, yes.
Okay, any other discussion?
Well, never mind, I was gonna ask it includes training, but I see.
Yeah, that's part of the quote.
The whole deal, they'll come in the
Yeah.
fall and
Yes,
do it in
correct.
service and everything.
It's been moved by Mrs. Spawner and seconded by Mr. Castello. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next. Discussion and action. Superintendent recommends approval to authorize an across-the-board pay raise in the amount of $2,500 for all regular employees to be effective July 1st, 2024. And this is in addition to the $2,000 supplement they'll get this month.
Yes.
So it's really gonna be $4,500 more when you put the two together that are new.
Is there-
Mr. Lancaster's on the line,
Yeah,
right?
Mr. Lancaster's on the line, if we have any questions for him.
I'm here.
Mr. Lancaster, we set aside $2 million for this, correct?
At our budget work session, of course, tonight, here in just a few minutes, you're going to actually approve the proposed budget. But at our budget work session, we did set aside, approximately $2 million, a little less than that. That'll cover this cost for 1 year, and then we're going to have to cover it for the remaining years, of course.
And I'm gonna mention it this time too, so that the 2,000 is this month, the 2,500's for everybody in July, and I still want us to get numbers to what it would be to move up service and professional personnel up in the rankings.
Wait, the 2,500 is added to the salary.
Right, is that not what I said?
I thought you meant we're getting another check in July.
No, I
Yeah,
didn't mean
okay,
that.
right.
It's
The
gonna be-
2,000 supplement, the 2,500
Yes.
goes into their salary.
Yes.
And I'm saying that I also want numbers given to us. We can approve this tonight, but I want numbers given to us to try to move up
What,
the service personnel
what
and
you meant
professional.
was it's effective July
One.
1, 2024, which is the
Next
next.
school year,
Right,
yes.
Okay,
But
All
we
right.
discussed in the budget meeting possibly a $3,000 pay raise.
yeah, we
And we
did.
still, and the $2 million will still cover that. I would say we need to raise this to 3,000.
Any other discussion?
Jeff?
Correct me if I'm wrong, in the budget workshop, we talked about 2,000, 2,500, or 3,000, and I had to bring something to the table.
Right, and Christine had mentioned going in between the two
this was the
financially,
middleman.
yeah.
Because we can always change it down the road, because we had to look at something sustainable. And where we stand each year, this was something we were comfortable with, it was just in the middle.
And if I can inject something,
Yes.
just to let you know what I have done. Of course, when we left the budget work session, it wasn't set on 2,500 or 3,000. So as a treasurer, I'm going to budget the more conservative number to make sure I've got it covered. What's in the budget right now, the actual cost of a $3,000 raise is approximately $1.8 million. Numbers we gave you were, quickly put together in the budget work session, which were close. But the actual numbers, I actually ran everybody's salaries again, is right around a little over 1 million. There'll be additional costs to that as well, though. There'll be, for example, anything that's paid hourly is going to go up. And a lot of what's paid hourly is our trips for bus drivers, for example, or any overtime rates, which isn't a lot of it, but there is some. So those sorts of things go up. Stipends probably for teachers, because we typically pay an average daily or an average hourly rate. That's going to go up with it raise. So there are additional costs above that 1.8. But I do have in the budget enough to cover, and I'll cover that here in a second. It's basically dropping the amount we were going to move to the capital projects fund by $2 million and putting that towards salaries. But I'm willing to do whatever you guys want to do. I just wanted to let you know that the budget I'll be presenting here in a couple minutes would be enough to cover the $3,000 amount, because I needed to have an amount in there in case that's what the board decided.
Understood.
And it is just a budget.
I think we need personally think we need the 3,000. We need to keep our teachers and service personnel before they start continuing moving away.
Do you want to make a motion to amend?
I would make a motion to amend the 2,500 to a $3,000 pay raise for all service personnel and teachers.
Okay, and I will second that recommendation. Okay. This is not voting on the final discussion or action, it's just voting on the amending. Okay, so you motioned, I second. Is there any discussion?
So all we're doing is voting
To amend, that we're gonna do an amendment.
the amend the amount.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so we're voting to amend the amount. Okay, if there's no further question, all those in favor of amending the amount, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So now, do I have a motion from someone to recommend the approval to authorize an across-the-board pay raise in the amount of $2,500 for all regular employees, or to $3,000 is the amended amount?
I make a motion to raise that to $3,000.
Okay, it's moved by Mr. Glasscock, is there a second? I'll second it. It's been moved by Mr. Glasscock and seconded by Mrs. Fawner. Any further discussion?
Just before we move on
Uh-huh.
to vote, and this is just more knowledge than necessarily specifically germane to this, but and we talked about it in the work session, whatever you do, you gotta think, you can't think about just today, you gotta think, how can I
Right.
still do this in 10 years from now? Can I still do this? And I mentioned then that we've got responsibilities to taxpayers and everybody, right? We're responsible to everybody. And I just say this just to, he and I made the comment then, June 30th, Brian goes back to Wetzel Street, or not Wetzel Street, that's where I grew up. But anyway, and here's what I've learned in the last few weeks since that work session is, I don't know how you manage this moving forward, because I talked to a person who is involved in a county adjacent to us, and they're doing the same thing. And it's great for teachers, by the way, it's great for teachers, and I service personnel and all those folks, I get it, right, and I appreciate it, they're, I don't know how to do it, I don't even know how teachers manage what they manage in our climate and world today. But just know, I'm just trying to say to the board, just know, we're not done. It is gonna be a chase to the top. And the oil and gas rich counties are the ones gonna run as fast as they can. And I just want you to be aware of that as you all move forward, and whoever happens to be sitting here in the next year or so, It's gonna get interesting. It's gonna get interesting. But I fully support that, still misunderstanding.
We do have our fiduciary responsibilities,
Yeah.
and that's money that's there,
Yep.
but it's needed at this time,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Okay, so we have made the motion to move it, it's by Mr. Glasscock, to 3,000. I seconded it. Is there any further discussion?
Since it says that the superintendent recommends, does that have any bearing on,
No.
on the motion or anything? No?
Okay, she just had to
That's
put
just-
it.
she said-
She just had to bring it to
Work
us.
with.
Okay,
So-
just making sure.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's been moved by Mr. Glasscock and seconded by Mrs. Spawner to have the board pay raise in the amount of $3,000 for all regular employees to be effective July 1st, 2024. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, treasurer's report. Approval for payment of bills. Oh, go ahead.
I have two items for you from trip report. The first item is item A. I'm asking for approval for payment of bills, which you had in your packet for the month of April. I'm also asking for approval for the supplements to the budget, which you should have in front of you. I'm going to quickly go over that. The net amount is $12,766 because there's a big negative amount in there I'll talk about briefly, but hang on one second. We have a high schools at work substitute reimbursement for $344. Tools for Schools, which is a state program that helps with our technology supplies, for $76,055. We have various local donations, most of those from Project Lead the Way. There's $9,000 for Payton City Elementary, Payton City High School, and New Martinsville School, each getting $9,000. There should be a couple more schools getting that. I just didn't have them at the time. Westlake has graciously donated $1,500 towards the STEM program at Payton City Elementary. And flipping the page, there's a $2,000 grant for county level teacher leadership framework. New Martinsville School, Mrs. Toman Wick got a Discover Your Future grant, the amount of $1,600 for a trip for some first students. And then on the last page, there are only, I think, two teachers that, if I remember correctly, that got the two teachers that got the bonus for giving us early notification to retire. Of course, our county does that for all employees. We pick up the additional cost, but we're only getting reimbursed for the teachers for day code. That's at $1,083. And then there is a PEIA reallocation that happens every year when everything shakes out and we find out who actually has which plans, and it's a reduction in our PEIA allocation from the state of almost $97,000 that I have to true up the budget at. That's all that I have for the treasurer's report.
I move for approval of the payment of bills and the approval for transfers and increases in the budget as Mr. Lancaster presented.
Okay, so it's been moved by Mr. Costello. Is there a second?
I'll say.
Seconded by Mr. Price. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now we have the acceptance of the audit report.
I can add one thing to that. You've already approved the financial statements, the preliminary, or actually the financial statements that I presented back in September. This is the final audited financial statements. The only thing I'm going to point out to you is on page 98, you don't even have to turn the page unless you want to. There was one finding this year. We're going to have that finding. It's due to this, and most counties are going to have this finding. It's due to how it's a GASB statement. I don't want to get into the weeds of that, but basically on page 98, it finds a finding degradation of duties for the school activity fund for the individual schools. It's basically saying, and school secretaries will know that they do a lot of financial duties that would be better if it was spread out. Of course, we're not hiring 3 or 4 or a couple extra, which would be 16 extra positions, secretarial positions, to make sure we can get rid of this finding. It's hard to do. We are doing some things at the county level to try and do better with monitoring of that, but really it's just something that we're gonna have to accept is we're gonna have a little bit of segregation to duties, but we do have some oversight there. But that's the only finding that we received, and I expected that one, so I'm very pleased with the finance staff that and how we've managed to get through another audit with it's honestly an excellent audit, a clean audit, and I just want to pass that on to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I move that we acknowledge receipt of the final written audit report for the fiscal year June 30th, 23, and declare that contents are available for inspection by all offices and by the public. Is there a second? It's been moved by Mrs. Spawner and seconded by Mrs. Nice. Is there any discussion? And as usual, thank you very much to your whole department and to the financial secretaries from the schools. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Number 10, approval of preliminary operating budget for the 24-25 school year. Superintendent recommends approval of the preliminary operating budget for the 24-25 school year, and the proposed budget be made available for public inspection. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's moved by Mr. Glasscock. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Price. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, board members' attendance and accepting classes at commencement exercises are as follows. So, let's just go ahead and look at the first one for Magnolia High School. Do you have a granddaughter graduating?
Not this year.
Oh, not this year? Okay, that's what I was asking. Would you like to do Magnolia? Okay, Mrs. Nice will do Magnolia. How many people are able to attend Magnolia?
I will be at all of them.
I'll be at all of
That's
them.
my
I'll be at
plan,
all
is
of
to be
them.
at all of them.
I will not be available Saturday.
Okay, you'll be at Magnolia for the graduation, okay.
Thought you were gonna say you weren't available for that one.
Okay, all right, Valley High School.
I would like to do Valley.
Okay, Mr. Glasscock. And again, everybody's available for that one. Okay. 100 High School, I'll gladly do that one. Unless somebody else wants to, but I'll gladly do that one. Okay. And everybody's able to attend, no, you're not able to attend that one. Okay. Okay, and Payton City High School?
I'll do that.
Thank you, Mr. Price, for your last hurrah there. Okay, and everybody except Mrs. Nice then are able to attend that one also. Okay. Board member committee reports? Okay, nothing? Nothing?
Christine, anything about? No,
Yeah, okay.
okay.
Then discussion policy 2322, school support and accountability, school performance, student outcomes, academics, and student achievement.
Mrs. McLaughlin and Principal Walton were going to speak this evening, but they've asked to be placed in the June meeting because Mrs. Walton couldn't be here and they have lots of stuff to share.
Okay, is there anything else then? All right, I have a couple other items, since this is listed under other. First, if any retirees are listening to this and you've never heard about the dental and optical program that you can get into for a fee, you can check with the personnel office. Secondly, I would like to put on the next agenda the discussion of the 100 high school posting before we actually vote on it. And third, I just finished this afternoon, sitting in the sunny sun on the front porch, a book called Anxious Generation. I'd started to talk about this once before, how the great rewiring of schools, of childhood, is causing an epidemic of mental illness. As the young ladies talked at the beginning of this, they were talking what's in this book. This was recommended to me by a teacher, Mrs. Tara Byard from Valley, and it's well worth the read. If you don't want to read a whole book on statistics and graphs and all, I can tell you the last section of it, the fourth section of it, is all about what schools can do and what parents can do. But they also have a summary after each chapter that you could just read that and not have to read the whole book. It's eye-opening. It's looking at things like allowing more free play with children, increasing times not on technology. There's just a lot, and it's eye-opening, it's scary, in fact, and sometimes when you learn about how the brain is being rewired and different things like that. So Mrs. Porter, I'm gonna pass this on to you.
Okay.
Feel free to read it if you want, or pass it on to somebody else. There's no sense in me just having it when it could be
Thank you.
looked at. It's, our kids are our first thing that we have to worry about, and that will kids. Is there anybody else with another item? If not, the next meeting will be May 20th.
It will,
No,
that
no,
meeting
that
has
was
been
canceled.
canceled.
Right, after I started to say it, I remember that. Okay, the next meeting will be May 28th, the regular meeting at 6 p.m. at Long Drain School. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Glasscock. Is there a second? It's been seconded by Mrs. Nice. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We are finished at 6:55.